Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs, game 1 of 4 in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Welcome to the full statistical breakdown. If you've never been here before or you've never seen me before, welcome. My name is Max. I make these every single week for the biggest NFL games, and as time goes on and the season ends, the biggest college basketball games, NBA games, and biggest sporting events over the summer. So if you're not part of the family already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos, especially this week with the divisional round. We're going to have 4 individual breakdowns posted day by day, starting with this one today, which I'll put the links for in the description. But if you subscribe, it'll just pop up on your YouTube. You don't want to miss any of this stuff. If you have been here before, make sure you leave a like. That lets me know you enjoy this type of content. Lets me know you've been here before as well. But without further ado, we're going to break this game down. If you haven't been here before, you may not know how this works. In the description, there's a bunch of stuff for you to track what I am picking and what I am taking in these games. If you go into the description, the Instagram, my Instagram, is the best place to get all of this stuff. I will be posting my Instagram pics, everything I'm riding in the game, a couple hours before the game. So if you're not following my Instagram already, you absolutely need to. It takes you 2 seconds. You click that link, follow, boom, don't worry about it. Especially if you're seeing this before the game, you want to make sure you follow now so you don't forget. Same exact thing on X. If you like X a little bit more, we have plenty of picks on there as well. The same picks that will be on Instagram just a little bit later, but on X, and this is crucial again, this is where all my live picks happen. If I'm watching something in the game and I like the way a certain player is playing or I like the trend of how the game is going, boom, live pick X. I'll tweet it out for you. You can ride it right away. If you want bonus cash to make your picks with on these games, Sleeper, Underdog, and Better Picks are the best place to do it. On Sleeper, if you join with code LEADS, L-E-A-D-S, you're going to get a free half-yard pick for a new user and 11 free additional entries just by joining with that code and playing your first $5 entry. It's super easy. Underdog, very similar. Deposit bonus up to $1,000 and another free half-yard pick. Then Better Picks, a free half completion pick and a $200 deposit match. Obviously, if you're not following me on Pickit, make sure you do. As soon as I make a pick, it'll pop up there for you. You can just automatically write it and copy it. We'll talk a little bit more about Pickit as time goes on in this video. But let's talk about this game. I want to talk about the Houston Texans defense a little bit. Because if you remember the last time these two teams played, it was a closer game. The Chiefs threw the ball a ton. Patrick Mahomes threw the ball, I believe, 41 times, 40-plus times, and played moderately well. I'll pull up the stats for this game in a second here. But the most important thing you have to know about the Texans defense, we saw it last week against the Chargers offense that seemed to be absolutely humming. This Texans defense is getting healthier, and they're playing better. They're turning the football over, and they're stopping good offenses in what they do best. J.K. Dobbins did not run the football well at all last week in this game. Now, is the Texans' run defense good? Has it been good really all year long? Yes, absolutely. But it is important to note that the Texans were able to take that away from them. Now, most important thing when you play a very good offense, you want to take away what's best, what that team does best. And right now with the Kansas City Chiefs, it's throwing the football. Again, we can pull this up. Last time they played, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 41 times, 260 yards, a touchdown. He also had a touchdown on the ground, 33 yards on the ground. Didn't throw a pick. He took care of the football. Xavier Worthy led the team in targets with 11, 7 catches for 65 yards, and he scored a touchdown. But as you can see, it was pretty balanced all across. You had 4 pass catchers with 4+ catches, 5 with 3+ catches. It was extremely balanced. And when you look at what the Texans have been allowing, the only really outlier data is the wide receiver yards holistically throughout the entire year, 12th most in the NFL. And in the last 5 games, the 13th most tight end receptions. Now, the thing that really does stick out about the Texans is their defensive scheme. They're extremely balanced in man coverage and in zone coverage. So there's no telling saying, hey, Chiefs are going to see a ton of man coverage on certain downs, and Patrick Mahomes likes to throw this guy against man coverage or that guy against man coverage. We don't really get that with the Texans. The only thing they do is play a ton of quarters. That's cover 4 and cover 6. As a result, you get matchups with tight ends that you like. You get matchups with inside guys that you like. And the Texans allow a lot of targets out wide, which is the most interesting thing about this, because a lot of times when you play cover 4, cover 6, you want to look inside out instead of outside to in. You read the overhang defenders on the outside, the curl flat defenders on the outside, and kind of work off of that, right? Texans are allowing a lot of targets out wide. We can see they're playing really good football outside. Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley. He's first team All-Pro this year. These guys are playing really good football on the outside. If I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, I'm probably not going to test that. I'm probably not going to test that. It's very interesting. You can see the Chiefs don't really throw the ball to the outside to begin with. Even after the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, been throwing the ball outside at a below average rate, and in the slot at a below average rate. Where the majority of the targets come are at that inline tight end position, the 8th highest rate in the NFL, as well as the 12th highest rate out of the backfield. And you can see in that last game, a guy who really had a big game out of the backfield was Samaje Perine. And when you go look at Pickett, we'll search up Perine. Samaje Perine right now, only 9 receiving yards projected. It's a little bit low for me. Only 1.5 catches, and that's at plus value. A little bit low for me. If you're going to be throwing the football, and again, this was a game where Isaiah Pacheco played his first game back. This was his first game back from injury, so he didn't play a ton of snaps, but he still had 9 carries in this game. So they didn't necessarily ease him in. They let him play. Kareem Hunt had 11 for 55. He was a leading rusher. But Samaje Perine had 3 catches, one of which big, I think, 34-yard catch down the left sideline, little mesh pick action. But Perine is the guy that they're really going to try to get involved in the pass game. So when I look at that projection for Perine, it's a little bit low. When I look at the projections for guys like Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, it's very interesting as well. And again, guys, I'm using Pickett right now. If you're not on Pickett already, again, there's a link in the description for it. You can track all of my picks on there. And if you're not interested in that, you can join Pickett Pro, which I'll show you in a second once we get our entry together, to get the best possible value for your picks for the weekend. It's very cool app. I know a bunch of you guys are already on it. If you're not on it, check it out, get on it. Free if you want to just use normal Pickett, but Pickett Pro, I'll show you those features here in a second. $25 a month. It's very worth it if you are interested in consistently making picks as well as consistently hitting bets and hitting parlays. But regardless, let's talk Isaiah Pacheco very quickly, because here he's only projected 6 receiving yards. And again, that could come on 1 catch. The only thing is, in terms of target rate for this Texans team, they're a little bit below average in terms of how often they allow targets out of the backfield. And when you look at the past game, right, Isaiah Pacheco had 1 for -1, but Kareem Hunt had 2 for 24. Again, we saw Perine with 50 yards. Let's look at Kareem Hunt's yardage as well. It's very important to note that the books, as well as all of us, don't really know what's going to happen in terms of the Chiefs' backfield. And I truthfully wouldn't lean into it too much, but the only way I would be receiving yards. Like Kareem Hunt, you can see that. Only 7 yards. He's projected 7 yards. And again, guys, on Pickett, best odds. That is the best place you can get all this stuff. You don't really want to miss an opportunity on a guy or guys, Perine, Pacheco, or Hunt. Honestly, I'd probably get on Hunt before I did anything else. But you don't want to miss an opportunity on players like that who are projected so low or such small value in a game where the game flow may favor them, because at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to have to throw the football. They've been throwing it a lot lately. And when you look at what the Texans are good at defensively, they're very, very good against what the Chiefs do offensively in the run game. They're worse against man gap, but they're still pretty solid. Lucky for the Texans, the Chiefs are the worst man gap run team in the entire NFL. The entire NFL. They're already bottom 10 in terms of overall attempts. They're the second lowest explosive run team in the NFL, which plays right into the Texans' hands because they're allowing a good amount of explosive runs. The Chiefs don't have enough on the ground, I think, consistently for them to lean into it. And when you've watched Patrick Mahomes play the past couple games, he's been throwing the ball more. Against the Texans, against the Steelers, he was throwing the football more with the addition of Hollywood Brown. And that's exactly where I want to go next, because last time they played, it was Hollywood Brown's first game of the year, and he had a pretty good game. Now, as you can see, the projections are not necessarily out for Hollywood Brown yet, but Xavier Worthy is the guy that Hollywood Brown has opened things up for. Now, Xavier Worthy had 7 for 65 and a touchdown last time they played. He played really well against the Steelers a couple weeks ago as well. He has become not the main guy, but they've allowed Xavier Worthy to be Xavier Worthy. He's not pigeonholed into being an outside guy. Hollywood Brown has taken that role. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is the other outside guy, but he's not pigeonholed into being that so far. And it looks really, really nice in the Chiefs offense. I have another video coming out on TikTok and Instagram talking about how much better Mahomes has been really the back half of the year. But the last couple games with Hollywood Brown playing more and Worthy being that gadget guy, that slot guy, the pass offense is firing on all cylinders. So when I look at Xavier Worthy projected 4.5 catches. You can see the touchdowns there, plus 220. And his yards, probably 50 is the lowest if I had to guess. Yeah, right here. So 49.5. And there are a lot of other places. Hold on, we'll do this real quick. And there are a lot of other places that have him at worse odds for that same number, but 50 yards is the main place for him. I like it. Like, I really do. And if you wanted to pair this, and this is exactly where Pickett Pro comes in, guys. If you wanted to try to make an entry on the app and see where the best odds are, you could use Pickett Pro for that. Again, it's $25. And if you're consistently hitting this stuff, if you're tailing with me, you don't have to pay for what I'm telling you. I'm never going to make you pay for picks. But if you want to consistently pay for the best odds in the places, this is the place to do it, because I'm going to go look now at Patrick Mahomes, who, again, has been throwing the ball more, been throwing the ball really well lately. And I'm not going to lean too much into, the pass yards or the pass touchdowns, but pass attempts straight. Like, you could get him throwing the football 34 times, 35 times. It'd be really nice. If you want to pair it with something like we talked about, 40 yards for Xavier Worthy, whether you want to do yards or touchdowns, let's go 225 yards. You could find the best odds for that. Like, you could look at this. Like, if you're somebody who only uses ESPN Bet or it's like Caesars or BetMGM, like, you could get significantly worse odds. But when you put them together right here, you can see how much better they are. Now, in terms of what I'm going to ride, again, that'll all be on Instagram, especially for the Chiefs offense, but I'm going to have an entirety parlay for this game. It's going to be a pass show for the Chiefs. It's going to have to be a pass show for the Chiefs. But I think they win this game. They're 7.5-point favorites. We're going to talk about the Texans offense here in a second. They're 7.5-point favorites. I think they win this game. I think they take care of business. But the Texans are going to have something to say about it. And that is what really fascinates me. Because you look at this past game, the game from a few weeks ago. Tank Dell had 6 for 98 in a touchdown. And he got injured, taken out of the game 3 minutes into the third quarter, guys. 3 minutes into the third quarter. Obviously, Nico Collins caught 7 balls. But 3 minutes in the third quarter, your number 2 pass catcher, who was producing like the number 1 in this game, got taken out. Somebody else has to step up. Now, you look at what the Chiefs do defensively, and they've struggled against tight ends all year long. 4th most tight end receptions, the most tight end yards. But you look at this. They're on the 9th most man-to-man. In terms of target percentage, Nico Collins is obviously number 1. He's the man guy. But Joe Mixon's getting targeted more than Schultz. John Mechie's getting targeted more than Schultz. Now, targets overall, obviously, Schultz leads. Receptions overall, Schultz leads. But in terms of yards per out run, you still got Mixon ahead of Schultz. So let's take a look at these Texans pass catchers. Because I look at Dalton Schultz, a guy who had 5 for 45 last time they played. A 35 receiving yard projection is just way too low. That's just way too low. And if I'm going to take something straight in this game, this is probably what it is. But 35 yards is way too low for me. I think when you look at Schultz, the opportunities he's going to have in a game where, number 1, the Chiefs are going to stop the run. Number 2, they're going to force the Texans to pass. And number 3, he's really going to be the number 2 pass option. I like it. But the guy I really want to look at is John Mechie. Because John Mechie got 8 targets last game against the Chargers. And he's only projected 30 yards and 2 catches, which is a little low. The odds are a little low. But 30 yards for John Mechie is a little bit too low. And when you pull up these numbers, John Mechie in the last 2 games is honestly the main slot guy, the main inside guy. What's really important is that the Chiefs all year have been targeted in the slot at the highest rate in the league. Not a lot out wide, but more in the slot. Now you can see the Texans, 27th in the NFL in terms of how often they throw the slot. But that was with Diggs, that was with Tank Dell, that was with Nico Collins out for a brief period of time. The last 2 games where they've been forced without Stephon Diggs, without Tank Dell, they're throwing to the slot at a 40% rate. That's 4th in the NFL, and that's more often than they're throwing it out wide. In terms of who's running the routes in the slot, John Mechie is running the most slot routes. Now, Nico and Schultz are still running routes from the slot. Mechie has 9 targets, which is very important to note. But Nico Collins is 4.05 yards per out run. So if you're looking for explosive plays, it's Nico Collins. The interesting thing is the most targets per out run from the slot is Dalton Schultz. Now, he's going to have opportunities, and we just saw the projections here. 3.5 catches, 36 yards. I think it's both of those are too low, and Mechie's is too low. But I look at Nico Collins here because he's going to have a big game against this Texans team. I don't know why 80 receiving yards is that low. I don't know why he's projected that low. And when you look at what he did last game, it was a game that, truthfully, it didn't play super well in terms of what the Texans wanted to do offensively, but he still found ways to produce. And more importantly, when they got man across the board, because the Chargers don't run a ton of man, but when they got it, he looked Nico Collins' way almost every single time. They had 4 man coverage snaps, 3 of the 4 targets CJ Stroud threw the football in against man, Nico Collins. He is the guy against man. So when I look at this game and I look at what I want to do for an entry there, again, we'll be on Instagram, we'll be on X, everything in the profile or everything in the description, below. Nico Collins watered down, maybe 70 yards. Patrick Mahomes watered down, maybe 200 yards. And when you put this together, it's got some really nice value. Again, I'm not necessarily riding all of this, but you look at this. So go to Patrick Mahomes pass yards, right? Patrick Mahomes is going to have to throw the football. He's been throwing the football really well. If you want to do 200 yards for Patrick Mahomes and you want to go Nico Collins, let's say Nico Collins here. We'll go 70 yards for Nico Collins. You can get that at minus 105. Like, that is great stuff. And if you wanted to add something else, like you wanted to add a Dalton Schultz for 25 yards, if you wanted to do that, it would get you really nice plus value. Really, really nice plus value. It would probably be 170. Yeah, 174. And then if you wanted to throw the Chiefs in just to win the game. I think I could do that here. Yeah. If you wanted to throw the Chiefs in just to win the game, which is minus 440, so it's a different leg, but it'd be up to 256. Like, this is pretty nice if you wanted to put them in to win by a field goal instead of just winning the game. It would get up to 276. Like, there are some really nice value plays here. In terms of straight stuff, all of that will be on Instagram and X, so make sure you're following. But Dalton Schultz sticks out to me. Xavier Worthy sticks out to me. And honestly, Patrick Mahomes' passing touchdown sticks out to me. Like, I think the Chiefs win the game. I think the Texans could keep it within that 7.5 number, but I'd be hard-pressed to pick against a Texans team that's a little more banged up, that's not playing as well as they have been. Obviously, they put up a good game against Chargers recently. That's going to be in everybody's mind, but still have been struggling lately. I think the Texans win this game. Before we finish the video, I do want to talk run scheme data very briefly. There's really nothing to write home about here. We talked about this. Texans are worse against man gap. The Chiefs are the worst man gap team in the NFL. Chiefs don't have explosive runs. And then on the other side, the Chiefs are arguably the best run defense in the NFL. The only thing worth noting there, last time these two teams played, Joe Mixon had 14 for 57. So number one, they didn't have to abandon the run. Even though they lost by 8 points, they did not have to abandon the run. 4 yards a carry was moderately efficient, right? If the Texans keep this game close, they're probably going to wind up keeping Patrick Mahomes off the field. So if you're a believer in the Texans, if you think the Texans could cover or even win this game, I think Joe Mixon rush attempts is definitely something to look at. Personally, not something I will be on because I think the Chiefs win this game. But if the Texans are able to keep this game close, they're going to lean on Mixon in ways that you couldn't even imagine. You could have 25 carries if the Texans keep this game close and they wind up pulling it out. Mixon is the guy to lean on, but I don't think that happens. And assuming that doesn't, it's going to be a pass fest on both sides. The Texans stop the run. The Chiefs love to throw the football. Good marriage there. And pretty much the other side, same thing. The only thing is Texans like to run the ball a little bit more, but the Chiefs are better against the run. So that is the full Texans-Chiefs breakdown. As always, let me know what you're riding. Let me know what you like in the comments. Again, if you made it this far, make sure you leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe and join the family. Around this time tomorrow, depending on when you're seeing this, the next breakdown, Commanders-Lions, will be out. We'll do one every day leading up to the games. It'll be in the description when it comes out. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it if you're seeing this before Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. God bless you guys. We'll see you next video. Good luck.